Hello and welcome to the Michael Clark Show podcast, where every Wednesday I'll bring you an interview with a different special guest. Many will be from the world of sport. All of them have a story worth sharing. In a time when doom and gloom is all too easy to find, this is a place where we'll be promoting the positive. So I hope you'll keep me company each week as I explore where our guests get their motivation and inspiration from to succeed. It's episode 11 of the podcast. Thank you for joining us once again. And as always, I have a special guest on with me. He is the head of elite performance for the Irish Football Association, Alfie Wylie. It's great to look at you and be seeing you again, and great to talk to you. How are you?
Morning, Michael. Doing really well in this wonderful Easter period, if you like, where there's snow and 4 seasons in one day. But yeah, keeping great and doing healthy and well. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear it. Have you well stocked up on your Easter eggs? Have you been turning into them?
Yes, well, I'm bored from them. I have a young son who got a lot, so he's worrying about his dad's pension him, as I used to do.
Well, it's a massive week for women's football, and that's why I thought you are the ideal guest. Having managed the women's team for 15 years, we're now on the precipice of qualifying for a major tournament, and with the senior ladies, that's just such an exciting thing to be talking about.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's took years of development towards it, and it's unbelievable in this position. A couple of games away from it, and the life dream for like myself and everybody that's been involved in women's football for years. Been a lot of really good people who have put so much in over the years, and I think it would be great testimony to all the work that's been done by club coaches, by the various people. You think of Maura Muldoon's and Cheryl Lamont's, people who worked so hard for years. Lane Chung, a lot of people have done fantastic amount of work behind the scenes. It's now a media contacts and it's high profile and all that, but they have people working away when nobody was interested in women's football, and we've had an unbelievable staff. So yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity for the girls. I'm delighted for so many of them because, basically, if you like in the last match, I give everyone in their debuts or whatever else. So I have a great affinity and in all the years of all the girls who've got their 50 caps from me and 100 caps from me, whatever else, that all that years of experience and that difficult decisions they've had to make about playing football and missing their work and all that is when we're going to pay rewards and two big games and hopefully lots more big ones to look forward to.
It seemed that I'm not trying to put the jinx on anybody that they were hoping for Ukraine.
Yeah, well, it was when you see some of them doing bits of dances and whatever else on social medias and openly saying on social media that's the one they wanted. You're hoping there's no jinx, whatever else. It's a tough game for them, but yes, that's the one that they would have wanted, and they didn't hide that fact when the draw came out. Like, that was pretty public, so it was a bit silly for me to deny that. When they publicly said yes, there was a lot of harder draws to get. It's not an easy draw by any means, but I think we're good enough to beat Ukraine. Like, I have to be fair without putting jinxes on anybody. I think we've got the experience and the desire, and there's a good process of our younger players coming through. And you've only looked in the recent under 19, under 17 UEFA draws. We Northern Ireland, if you like, under 19s, under 17s are in the top league. Ukraine, the side of their nation, were in the second league, B League. So it shows us good development, good processes, and we will maybe be ahead of them as regards that. I think with the girls and the hunger and the desire they have, that they'll come through. They're well organised, organised, and it's a brilliant opportunity. But it's testimony to, it's not just this campaign, all the campaigns and all the experience and all the games they've had over numerous years and the support they've had from so many people.
When you look at the senior figures in that camp, I'm sure privately some of them would have thought they would never be in this sort of opportunity, this moment, and it really shows the progression over the years of Northern Ireland women's football, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I remember a lady called Maura Muldoon, a fantastic lady, a great ambassador for women's football, driven on for years, her and Sarah Booth speaking to me way back in 2003, whatever else, to get involved with an under 21 and under 19 teams, and I did sort of train both then. I couldn't take a 19, so I took a 21s, and we played then, and we played against Finland, ironically, and lost 4-0 at a home park in Armagh. And St. Maura's fantastic lady, and then Cheryl Lamont, and came with me with the first Algarve tournament went in 2004, when a lot of these girls are actually making their debuts. You're actually Huttons and Julie Nelson's all came in around that in the games prior to that, and just at those tournaments. So they came through the end. So for me through there, so it's been a fantastic, journey for everyone. So many highs and lows, some great results, some very disappointing results, whatever else. But always thought in everything we were doing, we were making progression. Everything was going, it was building up. while the senior team were playing, there was a performance pathway in a regional excellence, and our under 15s and 17s and 19s put in place, and some excellent young players then were coming through. So it's, it's great testimony of how everybody's done, but it's great that, the likes of Julie, Ashley, etc., Sarah Mac, are getting those opportunities to play in these games, and God willing, in finals or whatever.
If we take you all the way back to when you were being, approached about taking on that responsibility, what were your thoughts at the time? Had you any experience in women's football? I imagine it was a very different sort of landscape than what we're sitting talking about now.
Yes, it was unbelievable. I'd been involved in men's football all my life. You know what I mean? I was a pro licensed coach. I was an Irish League manager, and women's football. And I remember senior people in football saying, "Don't, it'll destroy your career. It'll ruin you. You don't want to be doing it. Why would you want to be doing women's football, whatever else?" The only experiences I'd ever had been involved in it was, I remember as a young boy, if you like, growing up in Portdown and leaving the boys' brigade, and around the corner there was a football pitch, and there was a women's football team, Mayfair as it was then, were playing, and seeing these women playing football and sort of blown away that these women actually played football. And then I went to Portdown College. A couple of girls were very good players when we played after school or whatever else. So that was basically my only experience of that. And then when we're doing coaching, I'm a coach educator for the Irish Football Association. When we're doing youth at B's and all licensing, there's a number of women were coming onto the courses, and good girls, and how they were going about it, and they were coming through, and so you're getting that edge. They were sort of talking about game changers, and people like these are the people that were the game changers. Let's be honest about it. Like, they were the ones that, if you like, nearly with a small c created the games. Never mind change it as regards Northern Ireland. So those women were coming through in coach education, and were coming through in what they were doing. So that was the only things. And then one of those ladies recommended me, Cheryl Lamont, recommended me for opportunity to be, you want somebody to be taking the team. And I think she spoke to another well-known Irish League footballer at that stage, Jerry Flynn, and asked him if we were going to who would it be. And I'd coached Jerry at Coleraine, and stand left back. I think he spoke very highly. Well, Cheryl, I met, I think, on the coach education, and Jerry also spoke about an experience with me coaching. So it's given the opportunity, and Maura and Cheryl and Sarah and all that spoke to me. And just, it's been an unbelievable journey ever since it, highs and lows, but, wouldn't swap it. It's been outstanding.
It's amazing how many Irish League stories end up going through Jerry Flynn. I'm going to start taking notes here.
Yeah. Well, so I was told that years later by likes of Cheryl or whatever else. I think I told it at the time and I forgot about it, whatever else. You never thought much of it, but later on when you're reflecting back on your life in football. But those ladies, Maura and Cheryl, etc., and Sarah had gotten involved, were all very, very good, very genuine. Those great people, those girls who wanted to play. And I think the real game changers was that first group that went to the Algarve, you know what I mean? Like, and really set it up and started to create a profile and create an interest. And then from that, then in 2005, I applied for the job, they advertised the job, and I applied for it and got it and became full time. The first couple of years, it was just you come in and out, whenever somebody needed you. And just to say, it was been unbelievable, put in place and not a lot of great pathways. We've seen some excellent girls come through the pathways. At our last count in the last 13 years, 43 girls have come through a regional excellence pathway to play senior international football for the women. So that was happening in the men's. Everybody be, look at this here, look at this here. It's maybe going on the radar a wee bit, but I think it's time it came out from under that and was emphasised just how important the pathway has been, and many girls that are now been in the pathway that are in the squads coming through and how it's been developed. And the big beauty for us is, in recent, since Kenny came in, every time he's needed players come in there under 19s or 17s or look at them, so he knows that's, he likes a backhanded compliment at most. The best players are here. These are the people who have developed them, and this is where I'll go to get the best players.
Was that infrastructure as solid when you started? Because I'm thinking, yes, now, Kenny knows where he can look for players, and certainly there's just greater coverage as well, so he can watch a WSL game from home if he wants to, as much as, people love getting on flights and going to these games where possible and all the rest of it in normal times. But I imagine back then it was a wee bit harder to know where the talent was because there wasn't as much coverage.
No, it was very, very difficult. We won a league basically, with number, NIWFA had a number of leagues, don't get me wrong, but they won outstanding league locally. And there was basically two clubs who were outstanding it every year. and that was at Glentoran, or Glentoran Belfast United as it maybe were then, and Crusaders, who were Newton Abbey Strikers, changing their name over to Crusaders. So those were all happening as I sort of got into it. So those are local clubs who were then adopted, Belfast United and Newton Abbey Strikers, by senior Irish League clubs who had the foresight then to see that women's football would be taken off a bit and brought them under their wing. So the majority of our squad was picked from those two teams. And then you just basically, through various contacts you had, started to make inquiries and out into America, and wrote out to various coaches and emailed them, people who were on coach education courses with us, and any girls that's based, any Irish ancestry and whatever else, and then people who knew in England, through football again, is there anybody, blah, blah, blah. And you just kept working your way through that. We had no regional excellence program then. And when I first got the job, we had an under-19 team and an under-13 team. And with no under-17s, with no regional excellence program, we hadn't the pathway we have now. It wasn't even a senior side. We didn't have a senior side as such in things going. And big times for them was not just Algarve Cup, was then when they had to qualify next year's European Championships. If we'd have lost out in those qualifying things then, when I don't know where women's football would have been today, or whatever else. So no, there wasn't the same things, but it was enthusiasm of the girls then. The girls wanted to train hard then, they wanted to learn, they wanted to develop, they seen an opportunity. We first started going to those things, I was going in because of, as a coach at that stage in at Linfield Football Club, and they kindly got me the permission to use Midgley. Late David Crawford was the chairman, etc., and we could use Midgley in the morning. So the girls were coming in there at 7 o'clock in the morning to train before they went to their works, before they went to school, and then we're going over to Ashfield School some mornings as well. And they came in, and there was that desire to want to learn, to want to develop, to want to raise the profile. And while that was going on, then there was good work taking place in the local leagues, etc., whatever else. But it was very difficult. We didn't have experienced players. When you think all those girls now with 100 caps, it shows the work went into it. But we used to be what? Would have had 100 caps between the whole team, or 150. It'd have been amazing. Our average age, we were doing a thing one time with UEFA, and we had the youngest average age. I think it was 21.3 or some years of age as regards playing in European tournaments. When you went through all the ages, and we're a very young squad. Credit girls then were playing were 15, 16, 17s. Ashley, Julie's, they're all 16, 17 years of age, all playing senior international. The majority of the team were teenagers, as I say, and a few more experienced players in it. But those experienced players were great help in what they're doing. We got Gail Redmond, and she was Gail Macklin, and now Gail Redmond, our domestic manager. She was in a great help. Gail then got a job in America, head coach at Southern Miss. So a number of girls were there to go to be able to develop, and then through her contacts as well, keep us in link with any other sort of girls that are in Northern Irish ancestry, and just all the people come through. The Megan McGovern's sister Anya was a young player coming through her 19s in the seniors. Sarah McFadden was just coming. We brought Stacey Hall. Stacey had been an outstanding player back from America. One stage she had passed through Southern Miss and was there as a lecturer, and now she's Dr. Stacey Hall. She was an outstanding forward. She brought in, gave everything a great lift. And just all the girls that sort of came in and got involved in it. Then remember, your Rosie Clarks or whatever else, and all given great experience, great help. Hal McKenna, Danielle Madoe were two young girls at that stage, coming in, but they just all busted and wanted to play and wanted to do. Catherine Hagan, just there was a great group of people who committed, and you sort of say you had Sarah and Lindsay Patterson. We tapped Angela Platt up from the goalkeeper from Irish Hockey. Anna Higgins had come in, was a young goalkeeper, was outstanding for us, whatever else. Young lady who's now a teacher, Stephanie Dickinson, etc., Rebecca Corse. So the great girls who all got involved then. Julie's actually, Rachel Furness made her debut. We played Sweden under 21s at Ballyclare in March 2004 or whatever. And 2005, sorry, 2004, Rachel made her debut then, scored a great goal. We had then, unfortunately, the same night, Julie got injured. And I got sustained a bad, she'd done her SEL, so with a high of finding this young girl from England, and who had Irish grandparents. And then suddenly we lost Julie, who was a top young player at that time as well. So highs and lows, but just great progression, and so happy for the girls who have come through. Rachel had an outstanding career in England. That time she was part-time with no full-time players, but nobody sort of playing. The English game wasn't as high as it was. We had nobody in that. So people talk about just all locals. That's all we had then. And we had a with all due respect to everyone, a lot poorer league than what we have now. Now we have a high-profile league. The clubs are trained 2 or 3 times a week. They're well organised, well structured. They've got a profile. The girls are fitter. Everything else about it. So it was very, very difficult in them days just to get it going. But we were creating a culture and trying to develop a culture of girls who wanted to play football and just chipping away in the background with a pathway. And so thankfully that that's paying us rewards now where we are a week from 2 big games.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what's so important to hear for people to understand the journey, as it were, allows you to see the progression, but also the work that has gone in there, which, because sometimes people arrive late to a story, don't they, and go, oh, this is great, they're going to maybe qualify for something, and they think it just kind of all appeared overnight when there's been a lot of blood, sweat, tears have gone in behind the scenes, and sometimes maybe pitch side.
Yeah, no, it's just, there's been an awful lot of great people who have helped develop the women's game. You just don't appear as a team now with the talent you have. That's had to be developed from a low base, in fact, no base, if you like. You know what I mean? So what they're doing now is a reflection of all the years' work that's gone before, and then what they'll do is set it up for people who come behind, who then hopefully bring it on to another level, and they'll be reflecting back what's went on before that again, and people will be coming in years' time talking about the team that was in this position here, whatever else, and saying, oh, that's sort of, but you're right, it's where it started, where all the coaches who were involved in it, remember going away, and we've had some outstanding staff with right through us, I spoke about Sherlock, Kieran McBride was our coach, and Kim Funson, Kieran was our goalkeeper coach, Kim Funson, Alison Nicholl, Gail Redmond's been involved with our 19s, Noel Mitchell, an outstanding guy right through all the squads. He's regional excellence coach for Tyrone. He's done our 15s. He won the Bob Doherty twice under his stewardship. Under 17s, 19s. So Alison was under 17s for him. Colin McGifford was a kit man coming in and out. He's now the senior team. Really well. Damien McCory, another great lad with the goalkeeping right through, helped out in various things and whatever. Al Kerneens, Damien McCarry's, Johnny Pedlow, but outstanding people coming right through it all, and excellent coaches coming through. We developed those in the excellence program. We had Gail led Antrim, then Danielle came in behind her, Noel's done there, Ryan Mullen, Stevie Graham, another great lad, been outstanding in developing so many players through the excellence program for years. So all those people have helped out. Charlene Rainey, all good people who have come through it. Sure, worked with 19s at Gail, 19s and seniors with myself. They've all contributed so much, but as well as them has been administrators and developing and building the leagues behind it. Way back, when we didn't have a full league in NIWA, clubs were developing. Lots of people were putting lots of hard work into it. You'd Stephen Calvert working very hard. You'd now be strikers, and which become Crusaders. Say Sharon Lamont and Glentoran. So they were really trying to drive it on. And Neil Morrow came involved in it with Linfield, whatever else. Kim Funson, Stephen Funson run Northland Raiders. Lots of really good work has been building up in clubs. Sandy Shaw was at the distillery, and she was an outstanding former international player working hard. So there's lots of really good people who were doing it. Elaine Junk was building up football at Mid-Ulster, etc. So they were out all over the country trying to develop these clubs and build it up. And good people who worked so hard. And then I say there was the people who then got involved. In 2006, we started a regional excellence program. Roy Miller had got it going with the boys. Nigel Best had led the boys end up, and Nigel was over the regional excellence program, and there was 6 counties then at that stage. And Roy then got me involved with the women's team, and we were in full time Nigel at that stage. So Nigel led it all up, and then I took under my wing the sort of women's side in 6 counties, and the same guy sort of looked after it. And then we brought it through time into 4 regions to develop the players. So at the moment, we've 4 regions going everywhere else. They've all come through from the good work of the clubs in all those areas, and the people who just good people. And that's why I think we'll do well, because there's always been good people involved. You haven't always seen eye to eye with everybody are, but there's been good people involved in all that, and people who know the game. Like I see some people who are involved in it now and they don't even write accurate facts. They talk about they didn't win so many matches. There's only 53 countries in Europe playing in the competition. There's 100 and odd. We are 50 odd. We're now in their 40s, which is brilliant. Whatever else, but they don't even know that when we played or what we did. And you sort of saying, right, but don't forget all the people, which I don't, who work so hard for years to get us where we are. And it's been good people. I've been fortunate in a full-time role and been able to, if you like, just sort of coordinate all that. But the good work's have been done for the leagues and the players and the commitment the players have shown for years, from the very first Algarve of paying their wages, paying their airfare, sorry, over to it. The second year buying our own training kit because we didn't have enough, and things, journeys like that right through in what some people did. And, it's easier, and don't get me wrong now, because the profile I was a manager for 15 years and I could live next door to you and you likely wouldn't have knew that. It had no sort of profile. Yeah. And I kept, well, anyway, I kept down. I was always pushing players out. I never was about myself. Do more interviews now than I had done in 15 years or whatever else. But then the people didn't want to interview you either. So there's no profile. Your sister could have been in Northern Ireland International and nobody would have knew it. You know what I mean? Because nobody was interested. Yeah. And those girls then we were heading off for 10-day camps and doing maybe 4, 5, 6 of those a year, or in a sort of it was about a 16, 18-month sort of windows for all the different tournaments. And they're taking on paid leave or have to take all their holidays to do it. And then we used so many players because they basically couldn't afford to keep taking off. So they would sit down with me and say, Alfie, I'm maybe doing my exams and I can't get away, or this work commitment, that work commitment. I commit to these 2 matches. I can't commit to those. And so you're maybe end up using 30-odd players. Well, we, with all due respect, didn't have that many good players. And people, why is he using why they changed the team all again? Well, the bottom line was those girls couldn't get away from their work again, and you couldn't put them in that position to lose their jobs or whatever else because they'd committed so much already for it.
And you can't come out as manager really and say that, can you, either? You can't say, I'm giving a few people caps because there's nobody else to play. You can't say that.
No, you can't say that, and you don't go in and make excuses for all the players who were missing. That's always been the case, so I never went and said, look, by the way, the 6 of the last thing can't play here. You didn't talk about the ones who weren't going to be there. You talked about the people who were there. And that was my thing then. You'll just keep talking about the people who were here and make them important and whatever else. And thank them for having give up their times and efforts and come along. And some girls would have came along then knowing that they're going to take 10 days. And it's very hard if you've taken 10 days off work or away from your studies or whatever else. And we're playing a double header and you don't set foot on the pitch. What I mean? You're only subs or whatever else. Now we're only 18 players then. Now I think it's 23 or whatever else. We couldn't have 20, maybe 3 players of really the quality like now. We're in the beauty we can leave players out of the squad. We weren't maybe in that sort of luxury all the time of being able to do it. And they're leaving them out of a 23-player squad. We were struggling to get enough players available for 18. But the ones who were there wanted to be there, the desire to be there. I think inwardly they all knew that they were creating history, they're forming a journey, they were all sort of pioneers of what they were doing, that something good would come of it, because if they hadn't, they wouldn't all, they weren't getting paid, they weren't getting the social media attention, they weren't getting the recognition, so something inwardly was making them come then or whatever else, and I think I played a part in that, in the opportunities you were giving them to be able to develop, to be able to learn. Now they maybe don't look back on it like that now or thinking that sort of way, but they were getting those experiences, every time you went on a pitch, the girls quoting out all their caps and whatever else, but some of them don't say, well, Wylie, give me a cap at 15, 16 years of age, give me my debut. I remember Simone McGillen and Tim McGinnis making their debuts in the same match. I remember having to take them off at half time. We're in Serbia with 3-0 each and having to come off because they're totally exhausted. Alex Hurst made her debut in France, 9,500 people at the match. We were beat 6-0 and France double headers are right back. Karen Milligan making her debuts. A number of those people, and you're sort of saying, well, that manager, a bit of gutsy, give me a debut at such a young age and on the opportunities, and a number of other ones who played then as well, and we've done really well. We established then our under-17 team, and it was going, and Alison and Niall were taking out at the start, and then Alison and Noel, so they were putting a good pathway of players there. We had a regional excellence with all the ones who were 10 would say we moved that to 4 centres then, which is really helping us, and that's what's beautiful now. We have 4 centres, which covers up around Derry, Londonderry. We have it at Holy Cross School in Strabane now at the moment. We have Miloster Sports Arena, where we have the Tyrone and Fermanagh players. We have it at Newforge Country Club, where we have the Down Armagh players, and then at Ulster University Georgetown now we have our Antrim players. So they're all being developed and brought through and seeing they're in a pathway, and now we have them in the development squads at each things, but they were coming through, and then we had our 17s, our 19s, and then a couple of highs for the 19s was we went to Hungary and got 9 points out of 9. Fantastic achievement, first time and only time we've ever done it. One or 3 matches, one in as a bottom, second bottom seed, one in as a 3rd place seed, and some fantastic results, beating Poland. You remember being 2-0 up early on, and you still see the goals, Haley O'Donnell winning the ball, playing it out left to Kirsty McGuinness down the left, whipping across in Simone McGill Barnett, and we're 2-0 up early on, and then we performed heroics. We must have kicked 5 off the line. And Anna McShane, the girl went around the goalkeeper and played and looked down, turned around to celebrate, and Anna's come back kicking off the line. Alex is heading one off the line, and we're getting 9 points there. And that Poland will beat them. Our second match, then we're playing Hungary, the hosts, who were the favourites, whatever else. And again, in the last minutes of the game, where we were leading 1-0, 1 each, 2-1, 2 each, and then the last couple of minutes of the game, the way things work for you, again, Jess Foy, who was playing in one of the screen roles in the centre midfield, playing a ball forward up the line to Kirsty, and we were just standing that side, and the ball just going into the corner of the net, just inside the far post and nothing more. 3-2, I think it was maybe the 90th minute or something like that there. And then we played Lithuania in the next game. We're 3-4-0 up in the first 15, 20 minutes, and Simone had an injury, and I think she scored her hat trick, and we took her off after 15, 16 minutes. But getting 9 points out of 9, a fantastic achievement. But don't think too many other people, maybe all of those girls and Gail Redmond and myself, maybe knows about that. Would even recognise that an under-19 team qualifying got 9 points out of 9. And then that year, the elite round was in Portugal, and that's when Laura Rafferty made her debut. We'd been notified about Laura, and just prior to that, we'd had two friendlies in Spain, where we went to their national academy. It was fantastic, the tour of the museums and all that and everything else. And Ashley Hutton actually came with me as an assistant coach on that particular trip, and we played those games, and Rachel Newburn and all had come in and making their debut in those games. So that's where they were way then making their debuts in our sort of 19s. And then when we went that year, the elite round, and drew Iceland, got beat by Finland, whatever else, was just unfortunate. But you look back and see so many of those girls now who've come through, you know what I mean? So my first under-19 matches even way back in 2005, whatever else, when we went to Norway, and many of those players, your Rachels and Ashley's and all was there, many of them went on and had great careers throughout that. So that all that's been taking place in the background with players coming through and just how well. And then obviously under-19s was in 2017 when we hosted the under-19 finals. It was a fantastic experience and just a great learning curve. And 9 of those girls have went on to play. People question the team, like we'll talk about it shortly, I'm sure you will, about that tournament, but 9 of those girls have went on to play senior international football. Made their debut since that to play and play national side. So it showed we were in the right pathway. We showed we were developing good players, and that experience, not learning opportunity. And again, I think that's the thing that's missed, that when people are talking where we are now, instead of let's have we look at the squad where we are now. Well, what did the under-19s finals in 2017 do for women's football? Let me tell you here, bump, and look, here's Louise McDaniel, here's Emily Wilson, etc. Here's Emma McMaster, who are all in the squad now, who are all part of that squad.
I feel that way, Alfie, because for me that was a real eye-opener. That was my commentary assignment, was to cover that tournament, and for me it was such a great opportunity to get to be a bit closer to the players, and obviously that's when you and I struck up a good friendship as well, and really it was an eye-opener, and the passion was clear to see and to feel. And when Louise McDaniel scored the equaliser against Scotland at Mournview Park, and she runs over across the whole pitch straight over to you, the coaches, and jumping and hugging and kissing, and everybody's in a brilliant state. And after the game, I mean, you were really emotional because you were just so proud. That to me just it struck home what this meant to everybody, and how much you had gone unnoticed probably, you and your coaching staff and various players before. And to see that moment, it kind of crystallized in my mind how much I wanted to be a part of it going forwards.
Yeah, that's great. Like you said, I remember speaking to you after the game, embarrassed when I was starting that. Yeah, you're getting emotional because we'd got a draw later on. We actually could have won it in the last sort of kicks of the ball. Rebecca's good in the lane, he's crossing, has a shot instead of crossing it, probably McGee to top in or whatever else. But you look at some of those girls who, as I say, went on. But that was a great experience. But we're with that a bit always disappointed me in that one. We get hung up a lot in the organising the tournament, which we organised a fantastic tournament. It was great, it was brilliant. But we also were playing in it. We had a lot of players, you know what I mean? And I remember, Neil Britton, his head of the IFA communications then, was with his staff and Eggs and Tilson and all the guys were putting together what do you call it, a soundtrack to introduce the players, and sort of organised it at the Victoria Square on a Saturday morning and all that. And I was so I was thinking they're showing the girls coming out, in this film, and we clip about them and names in it. And then I got great stick then because I was doing the voice in the background. But Cool FM, whatever it was, the guy, what do you call him? Well, with Mark thought it was Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson. So I don't know how they got my wee Portadown accent mixed up with the Ballymena one or whatever else. But we had a great profile. There was a great launch and there was a great organised turn, which was fantastic. But we also had a great bunch of girls who were committed, weren't getting all the support that they get all now, and weren't getting all that, and were there continuously through it. And I prefer the IFA. The IFA had been very, very supportive, and I'd have to prefer the IFA. And no doubt if my bosses are listening or anything out there, but in my whole journey in women's football, I've had great support as regards sort of driving things on, you know what I mean, myself, and just giving that sort of autonomy, to do it, from Roy Miller, Desiree, Michael Boyd in recent years has been outstanding. Our chief executive, Howard Wells, when he first got it going and interviewed and gave me the job, whatever else, to Patrick Nelson now. There's been people who have genuinely sort of, wasn't their top priority, if they're all being honest with whatever else, but let you to get on with it, and knew it was happening. And now their faith in what I was able to do for years has been justified as well. And I think we think back on the 19s finals, Megan Bell was playing, Abby, these old girls have all played senior international football since it. Megan Bell, Abby McGee, Louise McDaniel, Emma McMaster, Lauren Parry's been a senior international, Yasmin White's been that, Emily Wilson, Courtney Moore's played senior international, Brennan McPartland, who's now in America, they've all played senior internationals. They've all got senior caps since then. Lauren left that tournament in that July-August period, and then played for under 19s, for the senior side in Norway, making her debut at 16 years of age. And just was them girls maybe don't think of it the same thing. Hopefully they get older, they realise all that development, all experience. You played Spain, first match we lost 2-0, Windsor Park, whatever else, and they went on to win it. They won the 3. They went on when they scored 2. I was always bragging, well, they didn't score 3 against us. You know what I mean? We drew with Scotland, should have beat Scotland. We're playing in the last match against Germany, and Germany's full whack. They've already qualified, and they beat us 6 or 5 or 6. But they're bringing on top subs. Even it meant so much to them, whatever else, they were getting results. And so I was like, well, that's the respect they have for us and what we're doing. And our girls were running sort of 10K in the third match in so many days, which showed the level of fitness they'd built up and all they were doing. And we had great staff then who were helping us with Johnny Pedro, obviously, our fitness. Amy Bell was our physio, Noel Mitchell and Damien McCurry were our 2 coaches. Damien doing the goalkeeping, Noel doing the things for else. And with great people, Marissa helped out with coaching as well. With really good staff and a good bond and good things. We're a great bunch of girls, and I'm so proud now that those girls that we're giving their opportunities now are now on to be professional careers. A big thing for us for our performance pathway. Just quickly talked around 100 times, so apologies. Our pathways at the moment, we have 4 centres of regional excellence. In that we have development squads. So this year we have an 07, 08, 09, that's 2007, 8, 9 development squads. So we have roughly around about 240, 250 girls in the actions program and over 4 age bands. And then they're picked down into 20, 28 players sort of in development squads. That goes in, and we have our under 15 squad and under 17 squads. Our under 17 squad this year are 2005s and 2006s. Under 19 squad this year are 03s, 04s. And then we have obviously our senior international squad. But as well as all those squads, part of my remit and where I'm responsible for it as well is that whole player pathway, the development squads, international squads. Then we have a performance academy at Ulster University of Georgetown, where the Irish Football Association helps students with their funding. So we have a lot of our better players there who are getting funding. They get S&C, they get extra coaching. Danielle Mado leads that up over there for me, and so she gets extra coaching. Alan Taggart has done in the past, etc., whatever else, but Danielle's doing it now. And they come in earlier in the mornings, they get coaching. They were able to work with their university tutors. I remember Jessica Foy, when she was playing for me, we had the fantastic result against Portugal, 1-0, but Jessica was Jessica Foy was with us, and she was doing her exams, and because of her relationship and her partnership, and Jessica, one of her students involved, Ulster University allowed her to do her exam with us in Portugal. So Roy Cathcart, who's on the board at the IFA, he was a retired school teacher. He was able to sort of tutor or sort of monitor and observe that examination, which was done privately and obviously in a room on her own. But because of that relationship, girls now can go to university, get a good education, obviously an excellent education in Northern Ireland, stay at home. We're helping fund their courses, which makes it they're not coming back with big debts after having maybe been in England or wherever else. And not only that, and this is a big plus, I think, which again a lot of people seem to miss as regards locally. They're staying local and raising the standards of their own NIFL League, NIFL Premier League. Those girls are staying here and playing. Now, we all love them and want them, yes, eventually to get to England and do it. I'm going to speak about Chloe McCarron in a second. But if they don't get there, they're staying here. They're more available to play for their under 19s or senior nationals and get regular training with the coaches there. They're getting coaching with their clubs. They're able to play for their clubs, raise the standard here locally, get a good education, not build big debts, still live at home with mommy and dad, whatever else, and get well fed and looked after, whatever else, and everything's just so grateful and that whole opportunity. And one girl, which was great, and again went on the radar, which always frustrates you sometimes. Chloe McCarron recently signed for Birmingham City last year.
Yep. So
Chloe was in our regional excellence program. She came through, the NIFL leagues, NIFL leagues, but in the regional excellence programs, she played for under 15s, she played for under 17s, she played for under 19s, I gave her a senior debut, she played for the senior international side, she went to the performance academy and came through, and then left that and went to Birmingham City, and now she's a full-time professional. I remember Chloe getting her funds from ourselves. She was getting help at the university for the gym, access to the gym to do her training because she went to Coleraine University, and Nigel Dobson got that sort of membership that she was able to go and all that as well, even to Coleraine and do it. And she has come through a pathway. So that's, like, again, a great role model for all the girls. Say, I can do this. I can still be here, go through this. And like some of our better players, Joel Coopers and Mark Sykes and boys football, play local, play football. She played for Olympic Football Club. Leave there. She was originally in Ulster. Can go from there and then get a career in England and be well established, well grounded. So I don't want people to be disappointed. I didn't make it when I was 15, 17, 18, 19. No, there's a career. And there's a very good league been built up at home. The NIFL League now is an excellent league. Great work's been put into it. There's great sponsorship. Games are televised. Again, going back to media and attention and so if you want to be noticed now, you can be a women's footballer and well noticed and well known. They're on top and they're all doing. So the whole shift is moving, and our girls came through this group, going back to their senior nationals. We're in a group which was, I remember I was in charge of when the draw was made. I've been told by my bosses, stand with girls in Turkey, and we just won our 3 games in Turkey, which is fantastic. We're in a high, and the whole heap going up. That our target was 14 points within that group. And the girls achieved that, and that was great. And going through, because in previous groups, in our previous campaign, we had, again, a great experience for the girls. We had the Netherlands. Like Norway were in our group then. Norway was the #1 seed in our previous competition. Netherlands ranked 8, were #2, second seed, reigning European champions. Because when the seedings was done and the draw was made, or when the seedings were done, the pots were done out, the Netherlands weren't the European champions, and we drew them after they become European champions. So the Netherlands European champions. They were number 8. Republic of Ireland were 31 or 32 in Europe. They were third seeds. Then you had Slovakia. They were 51, I think it was. And then us, at 61 or 62. And, so what a hard group of things. And with a great win away at Slovakia, we lost 6 in Netherlands, but you're playing over 30,000. At that time, it was the highest attended women's international sort of match, qualifying match. At PSV home stadium in the Netherlands. What an experience for the girls. What an opportunity. But again, if you think of that happening now, the attention, the media, the TV, the social media, I would say a lot of people listening to you and I now didn't know that happened. You know what I mean? That was our last campaign. That was our last campaign.
That's what's incredible. And I noticed that early doors doing the commentary, because people were sort of scratching their heads in comments I was making, because they didn't necessarily realise that some of the nations that were doing very well in women's football and are doing very well, are doing very well in the men's, but there's some that are far further ahead in their women's football journey than they are with their men's football. So, they were looking at Norway and going, might get a point off Norway. And you're going, this is going to be quite hard, actually, because Norway's women are exceptional.
That's right. Our greatest night against Norway was in November. I think it was Saturday night, 19th of November, it was 2011 at Mornview. And we're coming down again, driving down on a Saturday night in the bus. We'd been staying at the Dunadry, and we came down and played Norway, and they were high, two in Europe, former Olympic champions and all that sort of things, whatever else, and we Northern Ireland's going to play. And we go 1-0 up Saturday night, like there's two men in their dog at the match, that sort of way, apart the girls' own families, things. And 1-0 up, Kirsty McGuinness down the left-hand side, raids, takes a shot, takes a deflection. We break for us, 1-0 up. That was brilliant, whatever else. 44th minute, corner kick, whipped in. Ashley Hutton rises at the back post, nods it down, 2-0 at half time. So it was one of those ones where, ironically, and you sort of deja vu, whatever else, in the build up to that things, we had a couple of girls from the Sport NI, from the Institute, Sinai, in talking to us and metal thing of, if you're winning, what will you do at half time? If you're winning, and all these scenarios, and suddenly, what do we do now? We're winning 2-0 against Norway. Do we keep attacking? Do we defend deep? What do we do? Whatever else and all that there. So I said, no, let's keep going what we're doing. Now they put us under unbelievable pressure and we're doing really well. Defend it. And then they get one back, 2-1. Oh no, here we go, whatever else. And then again, with about 8 minutes, I think it was to go, down, playing the ball forward, great run forward, Catherine Hagan done a great move. Richard Furnace cuts inside, gets a shot, it's blocked, comes back out again, rifles in the roof of the net, 3-1. What a result, you know what I mean? And the next morning, again, on the UEFA website, the headlines, one of the biggest upsets in women's football. We Northern Ireland beat Norway, 2 in Europe, we beat them 3-1 or whatever else. And it was fantastic. And then we went, that trip was a double header. We got a couple of girls injured and one of them was suspended and everything else. So we got a double header. Hungry, and we're leading 2-0. Ashley and Julie both had scored goals, and they get an equaliser, 2 each on the 94th blooming minute. And it takes, but we've got 4 points where we weren't expected to get any in a double header. So that was good. So it was in 2011. So I names to you then of girls who played then, who are playing now, and what all they did and whatever else for it. And so those girls, you're so happy for them that, this is about them. It's not about the coaches. It's not about things on social media. They were there and they've been there in the bad times, good times. And, you've had some sort of, great results in those things, and saying in 2017, beating Portugal, they were in the finals of European Championships, playing at the stadium where Celtic won the European Cup in '67. We were playing on that pitch size and seeing whether they were up and getting a trophy and looking at where that was, whatever else. And we lost 1-0 in that game. We played outstanding. And then we were playing them at a return match. We played them the second, the double header, and winning 1-0 again. Because I think it was in the high end, it was the first time I think I ever made. We're winning 1-0, and I took 3 forwards off and put 3 on. I never was in that position to do it, because, I'm a good believer in weapons, and your weapons are your strengths. So our weapons have always been the speed up front. We're in the counter-attack, we're under pressure. Can we win it and get it forward? The speed, and we had your Kirsty's and Warren Waves and Karen Milligan's, Abdila Brennan, another outstanding player, and whatever it is, Simone's and all that, Lauren Brennan's, all were playing them stage. So they're great skill set. None of them were 6 foot big giant centre forwards. They're athletic, speed, wide players, front players, and got it forward. And the Portuguese were throwing everything at us, and you're saying, right, bang, bang. The only way we're going to get them back again is put a couple of forwards, let's win it, and then keep running it up. So it was great. And in the last few minutes, we had the ball down in their box and forcing it back down into there and all. And again, great results. So there's been great results. Our problem was we hadn't consistency to do it. Loads of reasons, rationale. One, again, go back to, was consistency, being able to get the players. Suddenly the next match, you didn't have those girls couldn't play because they'd used their holidays up or they used their work experience up. There wasn't attention. Again, I remember getting a nice write-up, I think it was in the Belfast Telegram, about Wylie's heroes or something like that there and what they'd done or whatever else. But other than that, and getting that one phone call, nobody else was interested.
Yeah.
And Well done, Alfie. There was nothing done on an NFA website at the end of the week. Oh, by the way, in fact, maybe people now don't even know who done that. Sort of. I don't mean as a criticism. I mean, it wasn't high on people's priorities. That was life then. Now it's changed. We didn't have media people travel. Now we had then. Now they prefer with us. But what do you call it? Now you maybe 3 or 4 guys going, and rightly so, to raise the profile and the things about the girls and all, and that's super.
You certainly weren't doing it for the compensation, and you weren't doing it for the plaudits. The passion and the enthusiasm comes across, Alfie, and I can see, the beam and smile on your face as you talk about all those people that helped you out, whether it be your players, the coaches, or whoever else. And that is what I'm so glad to be able to get across in this conversation, because there have been so many people that have made it possible. And there was something that you said that I just want to come back to as well. At one stage it maybe wasn't the priority. The women's team wasn't the priority, and they put faith in you, yes, but now it feels like there's more of a priority, rightfully so, and that's really the only way we're going to accelerate this progression faster, isn't it? Is if there's greater investment, as if the infrastructure is supported and grown further, and if the players feel that there's a pathway, not just to be making up numbers or anything like that, but to really have a career and a longevity in the sport.
Very much so. All women's sports taking off. You see the cricket, you see the rugby. All profiles are raised up, and doing all that. And if you look at our pathway of girls coming through, and if any young girl wants to get into it, whatever else, we have it well organised as regards to regional excellence. Say with the coaching to get their development squads, where they come and get extra sessions. Our younger players get gymnastics. Through the recent, from February through to now, we've had 30 Zoom calls for our excellence and under 17s players, whatever else going through. Had a range of things from nutrition. I talked about nutritional, Serena Barr, things. We've had profiling meetings. Serena is an Irish international hockey player. We've had nutritional or profiling talks. We've had international players, as in some of the males, Stuart Dallas, a great friend of Noel Mitchell's and mine. Everyone else, so Stuart spoke to the girls. We've had Julie on speaking about 100 caps. We've had Helen McKenna, Carneen, Shania's, whatever else, Helen Carneen talking about her time playing and doing and raising your children through it. Danielle's been on talking about a performance academy. Paul McKnight's about the education. We're giving them educational support now at their schools. What's the good, best exams to be doing? What else for it? We've had S&C sessions with our S&C staff, so the regional excellence girls have been in doing that. The girls also in the regional excellence program have an app team builder where they get programs on it, and individual and programs to help them all now with their fitness things. Top taggers and the coaching manual, we get sessions from them. We got a player one things where they were doing nutrition, they were doing having to highlight games, analyze games, whatever else. What we send them all out now in our 17s and 18s is videos that we record all our training sessions, so they can go on Microsoft Classrooms, look at the games, analyze them, and put questions on it. And about questions, we've had 3 quizzes over this period where all the families are joining. It's been fantastic. It's been in and around, all around, based around football and women's football and local football, like whatever else. So challenging the girls and making them aware and things. So this the whole thing as regards, we do when people talk about holistic things, we are actually delivering it at the moment through our whole program, right through the 17s, 18s, or educational support they're doing, everything right through, you say, because their education is vital. It has to come first and has a priority, because there isn't big careers out there at the stands now, and it's going to be harder to get a career because you've just seen the investment in the Women's Super League in England, all the sponsorship. That means women, as already are, but even more so, more will come and bigger money will be spent by those clubs to bring people from all over the world to play at them. So they'll have the fun to be able to do it. Whatever else. For women's football, there's only 2 professional leagues in the world. England and America. There's professional clubs in Germany and France, but they're not the professional leagues. So the only 2 full-time professional leagues are in England. So majority of people now and all in Europe are wanting to go to England or whatever else. So we in Northern Ireland, with our 6 counties and our 200 and odd girls in the excellence program, whatever, coming through the things, they're going to have to work really, really hard. Now we're blessed that the football's taken off in sort of semi-pro in Scotland, which gives us opportunities. And obviously already a couple of girls are over at Rangers or whatever else. But we're pushing girls in all those avenues. Can we build up links with different universities? How we go about it? If they have to go to England and get in to go to America, we're monitored to do it. Keen to stay in Ulster University and the support we get there. But there is a big grid of support around them, and that has to be now built on. It has to be enhanced. It has to be, the profile has to be risen about it. Those are there for the girls. And But we also can't get over. We don't want anybody to think there's nothing been done for women's football. There's an awful lot done. There's a lot being done, and I say the proof in the pudding. Say if you look back to under 19s in 2017, and many have been in the senior national. In our performance academy at Georgetown now, Emily Wilson's there, Abby McGee's there. Jess Boy has been there. Numerous other players going through it. Emma McMaster's there, etc. So there's lots of those girls who have been in the things who are already helping. We have education. So we give them profiling support, where we're helping them with their timekeeping, how they work with their school timetables, their own timekeeping in life, how they manage their own times, what's priorities for them, say nutrition, or the psychology things of it, our fitness, with physios who do full sets of screenings from the 14, 15, so we screen them, see where they are, how we can do it, individual fitness programs, individual coaching sessions, tutoring. We send them out videos of what they do themselves. We show them videos of best practice of top players in the world. So, how do you know what you're doing, or what you want to be a top player? Well, here, where do you play outside right? Well, here's what the top outside right. Look at the tricks, look at the skills. Here's the attributes they need to be. So people are being fully aware of that. So there is an awful lot being done. Now it's up to a good bit now how much the girls really want it, what their attitude is, what their desire is, what's their DNA of wanting to be a champion, right? They've got talent, but do they want to learn? Are they thinking? And hard work's what they're going to have to do now, because it's going to get harder to get there, and they can't get it just because I'm a girl and I've been a right girl in my team. No, it's becoming more and more competitive. Yes, days gone by, you could have just been a girl and got some matches. No, now it's competitive and really hard work. What their commitment, what their attitude is going to be vital going forward. And we're blessed we have a number of those girls who have that. And you see some of the exciting young 05s and 06s that's coming through, and younger again for Northern Ireland. Like the future's really, really bright. Like this.
I can tell you really enjoy your role now. I'm just curious. Do you miss being the manager of the women's team? Because 15 years of your life, Alfie.
Yes, you do, but I love it. I had an opportunity, and then they give me the promotion head of elite. Either stay on in the role or do it, whatever else, and do it. And 15 years is a long time. And when they're going to these big matches, you love, I was there, I was such and such and such. No, but everything, every bit in your life is his own wee chapters and wee bits. You know what I mean? And I'd done really well, and it was good. Maybe to get a change for everybody, and I just you'd be disappointed. You're Ballard if you said no, you don't want to be involved in such and such. That's unfair. But I've got a real lease of life, real thing of life of all. One recognising what those players had to do that's through here now. So I'm very proud. Whether they like it or not, or anybody likes it or not, I give them those kids. I give it, stood by them when others didn't. Give them opportunities when it wasn't an interest. They stood by me, but loyalty is 2 weeks because you had to be selected. You just can't turn up, whatever else. So I'm very proud in what personally I've done as regards for them. I'm very proud of what the pathway in place of all the coaches said. Those great coaches and all of the support that they've given them. Who maybe players are players, maybe forget. At the likes of what Noel had done for them, Stevie Graham had done for them, Cheryl had done for them, Gail had done for them, Alison had done for them, Damien had done for them. Those people put an awful lot in things in all the centres and all the work they've done. And I personally just love it now that I'm able to talk about all the things we've been able to. Ultimately, I was in charge of it all. Like I was running everything, one man band doing blooming everything. Now I'm able to focus and know that we are going to. This year, where they are now is not going to be a one-off. We're better prepared for the future than they ever were whenever I was there, because I was dealing with the present and trying to develop the future. And looking back at in history and trying to do everything all at once with everything. Now we have a settled squad, senior squad of people who've come through, and with time for players to come through in the background and learn their trade and develop through the age systems that we have, and work and what they build up. And people like Aaron Hughes now is one of our under 19 staff. Under 19s are meeting up on Wednesday. We have a super bunch of girls there coming in, and they're all hungry to see that opportunity. Some of them have been in around the senior team training, whatever else. A number of last year's under 19 squad are again selected up into it. You Rebecca McKenna's, your Kerry Peters, etc. We're all up with the senior thing with Kenny has in the squad. Who were all part of the 19s last year, and a number of other ones. And the same with now this group coming through. So you miss, if you like, sort of the big games, but I really love now seeing that here you can really enhance and make a big thing of what the future of women's football is, and have done over the years, and can still do. And I'd say a lot of people look at the results now and say such and such, and Wylie was charged up that maybe got beat here. They don't know, it's not apples to apples as regards to the availability of the players, the experience, their doings. The players get helped with time off work now as regards, there's other resources and other things done to support whatever else. And then a lot of them are sort of their peak is coming in, say my last 3 games in Turkey, right, their friendly games, whatever else, active friendlies, but you're still, we're beating teams. We won the matches, we left it on a high. Went into a group that we were expected by my superiors to get 14 points in, and was told that, if you know what I mean, and whatever else. So, and the girls achieved that. It's right, been expecting it, which is fantastic. The interesting thing will be future draws, and that my job is to make sure that we have good players in the pathway that Northern Ireland's going to be up there to be shot at, on how what we do going forward. But next week's 2 matches are a great opportunity to, I think, show off all that's been done in the Irish Football Association, and not just that, in women's football, at all the clubs throughout the country, because every one of those clubs should feel a bit of pride in that they've contributed. They may not have put the players there, they mightn't be their players, but they might be played against them. The schools should have some pride that that those girls went to their schools. All the coaches I've talked about is whoever worked in our programs, every single one of them should feel some pride and ownership of what all they've done. I think everybody has to claim a bit of ownership of what they're doing, whether you're a club coach, a school coach, a regional excellent coach for me, a former international coach, or everybody else, in that the bits that you've played in all their pathways and enhancement, because for years going back, those girls admit it was so much more difficult to get, and what we had to fight for, you know what I mean, and make the most of. And I was usually asking for forgiveness more than for permission, you know what I mean.
Well, that might have worked out well with your personality, Alfie, in many ways, because in those early days you probably had to be a wee bit stubborn and dogmatic and just go and do things and get it done. You were trying to get a kit for the team at one stage. When you look at everything you've outlined now, there's a big difference.
Yeah, great. I remember we were talking about kit. we were playing at Coleraine against Serbia, and I don't know all that happened, but there was no kit for us. So when Nigel Witten had been the manager of the men's national side, Nigel had said then that all the players, excuse me, had to keep their kits after competitive matches. So to prefer that's happened ever since. So none of them had bits of kits. So we had no jerseys. So they're sending home to their parents. But you bring, I have a number 4, I have a number 9, and then Colin McGiver, he was a kit man, and then he was actually writing on their shorts with a black marker. You changing a 3 into 13 or whatever else, and did for one of the matches. We didn't do it. Whatever else, I forget what the reason was why we didn't have a kit. But those were even extremes we had to do then. But and I have been fortunate too that the likes of David Curry and Glenda and Nicola, who work in the international department, they've been really great supportive and making sure the boys got, the girls got us got. We're traveling through airports, they got fed, looked after, good flights, good hotels, wherever it may be. Now, if you go to a host country, you have to go where they put you up. But in recent years, our senior, when we moved to the Stormont Hotel, which is brilliant, and fantastic, I looked after us, the Crown Plaza, Charles Bright, all those hotels, Dunadry's, I've really went out of their way to look after us. And, so they can't say we get trained at good facilities. So we used to Georgetown, we're civil service, we're New Forges, whatever else. So yes, it's been really, really hard. I've had to dig your heels in. I'll be upset if you people are upset with me, but if I hadn't done that, the girls wouldn't have been getting a lot of what they're doing now, because it wasn't a popular thing. There was no sort of big moral thing of, well, that's a woman, she should have it. It wasn't a big thing now, social media, somebody would be all over it. Oh, do you realise I didn't get this or realise I didn't get that? That wouldn't be the case, you know what I mean? But, and you think of the girls, like, we'll play in England the other week and would get beat, whatever else. But when you remember playing them at Mornby Park, and sort of organising, she's also one of the players, which was in charge of doing all the sort of domestic things at that stage. And the weight was 2,600 at the game at Mornby. You know what I mean? Like, so they talk about sort of now, there was not turned up that thing. I remember going over to play England, and you think of the names that they had playing for them then and playing for them at home, whatever else, and that was actually the third time, because we'd lost 3-0 in the Algarve Cup the previous years, and then we're playing in the European Championships, and the year we're getting to where we're 2 more points and would have qualified for playoffs again when we had Croatia going over there. And again, you're talking about profile, 1-1-0. Rachel Furness, David Hayter, brought in a field bird, all buzzing and doing. But I remember ringing up because I knew Joel Taggart at BBC and Alan Wallace was one of the board members of us. And there's nobody knew anything about it. And right, Joel, you want to do me a favour? You know, when the match was over at 4 o'clock, half 4, you couldn't get a wee mention. You know, you couldn't get a mention. Radio Ulster doing that. Well, just come to Croatia 1-0 here. You know what I mean? And then you know, we that our last match, Rachel scores a hat trick when we beat Croatia at the Oval on a Tuesday night. And fairness to Patrick Nelson, after that game, the next day in work, you'd got a wee buzz from the Croatian Association, and he'd done a bit of a presentation work. He gave me that because we'd finished third in their group. You know, and another point would have been in, you know, a tie for second, you know, with 11, 12 points. And that was, if you like, well, said no team's a very disrespectful team, but not the team would have sort of now, but the group that we're in, like that was a group had France and Iceland and all in it, you know, sort of way. Here's we Northern Ireland, like Iceland had been qualifying for finals, France, maybe France, you know, and we played them at Windsor Park. And again, the way the fixtures worked out and the draw was made, we went over to France and played them on the Saturday, and then the double header had us playing France again at home on the Wednesday. What games to get that there, whatever else. And then the second time we played at Windsor was against Belgium, which everybody tends to forget. And that was a return leg, and they beat us 2-0. But in the first match over there, we drew 2 each. Karen Milligan had made her debut in that match, or whatever else. And I remember Catherine Hagan scored an equaliser 2 each. And there's a number of Northern Ireland supporters who was over there from the London Supporters Club or something, had got the ferry over, and you know, a number of the guys in there were singing in it, and it had been snowing and everything else. And you know, just, you know, great nights and great experiences and great memories. And you know, good people make good players. So we've had a lot of good people. We've had a lot of good people, and you know, but just, you know, I love the role I have now, because you're helping carve out the future and enhancing it further on. And the role of players now is going to be much better prepared for that than what they were then. You'll say, I was playing children 15, 16, 17 years of age in the senior side, or sorry, 16, 17, you know, and you're playing them. And that was with your team. Most of them were young players, very, very young. So you were getting all of, because no, then, you know, if you look at Julie or Ashley's or Sarah and all the kids have got, well, we weren't getting 20 matches a year, you know what I mean? So that's, you know, usually contacted me after. I give Julie her first cap and her 100th cap. Now, Julie was a fantastic, loyal, great player right through. But you can't think of many other international managers who's ever done that. You give from the first 100th as regards it. And, you know, that shows her loyalty, sort of to me, but also maybe my loyalty to her and the other players that you brought through and stood by. And, you know, we always didn't say eye to eye about every blooming thing, but nobody can never deny that if I had a ding dong you, I didn't go back and pick you, because the team was much better. And sometimes some girls were thinking, well, you picked me because I'm what they thought, a better friend. Or yeah, they might have been a better friend, but this was a better player, and you know, this is what I had to play and do. And just all those opportunities, like, and you think if we'd come, we were playing England. That first match you're talking about, playing England, then what do you call it? One of our players was working that day and had to quit work at 4 o'clock to get out of work to come to play at Moorview on the Thursday night, to come down, you know, work, you know, and you know, those are the differences. You know, people are coming from the work to play England, you know.
There's actually in some ways sort of similarities to like Irish League football rather than, you know, men's international football in that sense, because you're having to divide your loyalties. And that's maybe what people didn't realise, that there was all these additional factors to kind of weigh in. And Julie's a great example, obviously, by being the history maker, by being the first women's centurion, and obviously now Ashley Hutton's joined her as well in that. And it was a wonderful moment down at Shamrock Park, seeing her get her, you know, her presentation and coming out onto the pitch and the guard of honour and everything that went with it. And do you know what I think we're going to do, Alfie? We'll have to get back another day and do your Irish League stuff, because we've talked for so long about all the women's football, and rightly so, and only right with the matches coming up. But you've given me a bit of extra encouragement about what lies ahead, because we're not looking at these 2 games maybe as once upon a time we would have looked at and gone, isn't it great we've got this far? We're looking at this as, now let's get even further. And with Kenny Shields there, and with everybody around you, it really feels like it's now about kicking on and doing this more regularly.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we've in place, you know, a really good pathway structure with coaches who are really keen to help develop players, with a good senior setup that's well organised, you know what I mean? And an understand pathway coming through for all the players. And you know, it's great what the senior side's doing. And I say I'm so proud of what everyone has achieved there, because it's fantastic. Because, you know, when you work as long as what I have, it's still my team, if you know what I mean. Kenny's done a great job, and so don't get me wrong and when I'm saying that. But you kick every ball with him. I was down in those matches there, and I was up on your feet, cheering the goals going in. You're out one of the few was allowed in the game, whatever else. And, it just it's our, and you're watching on TV, and I remember the night they played Wales, jumping up and cheering, when Ashley scores at the end, and I was glad I gave her 98 caps out of her 100, whatever else, and just missed out on the other two, whatever else with her. But the other good girls that have come through, and there's a good bond, good break among the girls, a good squad of players there. There's a lot of them have been about it for a long time. If you look at how you were maybe one of the more experienced teams in European football now. If you really look at the number of people who have 50 plus caps for us, so there's sort of their peak, and then in around that is the hunger of a number of younger ones who are much better prepared than what those girls were when they were that age. And every time you set foot, like, if you have 50 caps, 60 caps, 70 caps, 90 caps, 100 caps, that's some experience to bring it on the pitch. Like, we'll have lots more experience than Ukraine will have. You know what I mean? And we've also had lots of disappointments. And because we're a smaller country, small is big for us because there are players from all over the size of Ukraine. You know what I mean? Like, our players all know each other intimately. They all know that they're very close. They've been brought up in all these, 50 odd times in the same camps with each other. And in a lot of cases more than that, because they probably didn't set foot on the pitch. So then, you might say there's 50 caps, but there's 70 trips or something, because maybe 20 times it didn't. So you think how many times those girls have been away on trips together, trained together, had that bond together, know each other inside out, experienced the disappointments, experienced the joys that I've spoken about, and a number of things. Some girls have already played in the squad, have played at European finals, maybe under 19s, but they've had that experience. We never had that experience, but that's standing by them, in what they're doing, and it's just lots of really good work been done at the club, the domestic football, in the schools at the IFA, or Performance Academy. Just there's so much work being done for women's football, and it's great to see that all the work that's been done for people, this didn't happen in this campaign. You know what I mean? I'm not taking away from the campaign. The campaign was, in inverted commas, one of the ones that we were expecting maybe to have done better, but they've got to where they've got. It's been unbelievable. But those girls have learned for years. There's talents, there's skills to be able to do it, and the players come behind it, and all the people who have contributed, all the coaches out there, all the clubs, all the schools. I think they need to be acknowledged and recognised, and maybe unfortunately at the moment they don't be. I think the Pathway and everybody else that's played a part has to be acknowledged, because they were doing it. Like, there's people now talking about women's football. I'm saying, where have you been the last 15 years? Where are you from? Now you're looking at me, and I'm saying, where have you been when we needed you? Like, if some of you had to come out years ago and done what you're doing now, this would happen years ago, and supported those girls who were making those big commitments, like going to work on the day of a match, what do you call it, paying their own kits, paying to play, send home for kits to do, losing time out of work and putting notice. I remember writing various letters to a number of employees about let their players off and what could we do, and maybe give them a mention to help them, but nearly like sponsorship. Look, I'll mention you in the programme, or I'll say this, or we'll do that, and all the wee things that they've been. I would say over the years, maybe done 5 interviews out of 15 years. Prior to matches, that showed the interest. Saying who. Whatever else. So it's great for the girls now, and it's great. I'm glad to see the BBC, like yourselves, not talking about all the things that are being done, all the radio channels, all the things, and the press and all the guys writing about it. And it's good. There's good girls, and there's really good girls coming through, but there's also been really good girls went before them as well. Like there's a lot of people who went before this who are unnoticed, forgot about now. Those original game changers. There's people jump on now, sort of bandwagons a wee bit, if it's been honest about the thing, and this. No, I know the game changers. I know the people who really think that, and we get sponsorships now, which is brilliant, and those things are. But there's been good people who give up an awful lot and didn't make a song or dance about it for years. Put their job on the line. Sat studying every minute they could. Like we were when some of those trips, and God love you, seen a number of the girls, because we're such a young squad, sitting with their books and their computers, right out in the room, down to restaurants or whatever else, and sitting there and eating in the receptions, hotels, and doing their school works and having to do that. Girls working long hours before we went, so the time off to get away, and literally arriving on the trip knackered because they'd give so much. We've now got playing the Premier League, who are full-time footballers. We never had that for years. We didn't have full-time footballers. didn't have that, our own local league. Look at Niffle League, the exposure it gets, the great work's been done in all the clubs. They're really exciting. Like 5-6 teams in the top league, really good players, whatever else coming through. And as I say, the leagues that's going on behind it with all the girls' leagues, like with all those wee underage girls' leagues for 11 to 15s, whatever else, 17s, 19s, Niffle under 19 leagues, them leagues were never there. It was only 7 years ago we were playing the Bob Doherty. We met up in February to prepare for the tournament in April. And staff Stephen Graham at the Dub and saying, right, girls, I think with 24, 28 girls in the room and saying, right, girls, right, boom, boom. And many have played 11-a-side football, whatever else, and I think it was only 6 or 7 put their hands up, and they were 15 years of age, 14 years of age, not a 15 tournament, whatever else. Now those girls, they get away to trips like the IFA. We've had them at Rangers for visits, Man Cities, Man Uniteds. They go on various friendly things. They play in the Foyle Cup, which is brilliant for them. They're playing up there at the Super Cup. They played at tournaments in Oakham. They've went to Spain on tournaments. They've been in Sweden on tournaments. All as young players in 13, 14s, 15s. All those opportunities were regularly played teams and club sides in the Republic of Ireland. All those opportunities have now got and seen and got a wee taste of it over the years, and all the wee bits that adds into their development. And if some of those girls were right down their wee bits, I was there and I was there and there. And I got lovely profiles built up, playing in the Bob Doherty. Some of them say have won a couple of times, but we're not worried at that age about winning. We have in place, sort of finish maybe in this year, a process. And when the process is right, the results will take care of themselves. And we have a great process in place. And I think it's something that the IFA should be proud of, and proud of all the people who've contributed to that, both at the administration side, the international departments, to the coaches, to everyone who's been involved, and everybody has various skill sets of what they've been able to do and bring to us, and the support we've got from so many people. Like, I hate when somebody talks about this is a big collective we for women's football over the years, and the ones who went before me 15 years ago, lots of really good work. Like, there was no senior national side for 4 years, and which was caused a big gap, from 2000. But you had people who worked in it years ago. Shane McCullough's first people who all helped the women's team, all helped structure it, people who all done their bits. Ian Stewart, everybody's contributing. And I always think of that Sunday when Maura Muldoon said, "I was at me in Lisburn," asking me would have been interested in taking this team or whatever else for games, and it's just it's been unbelievable, and it's great, and the girls rightly deserve the attention in the media they're getting at the moment, and well, I think the big thing is for everybody to be humble and acknowledge what has went before also, and again, what I'm really excited about, what's coming after you. Because if you don't perform, there's players coming through looking your jersey, and so you need to step up to the mark, because we have a lot of hungry young players coming through.
And that's definitely where you want to be.
Yeah, female coaches are being developed, which is brilliant for us as well, and that's good. And it's great work done with coach education on that line. There's great work done with the clubs. So we have really good, vibrant young underage girls teams, and who know the pathway. It's well documented. Pathway is well known as regards now the structures to get into it. And I'm delighted that so many people want to be in our pathway and see it as a vehicle to help enhance their careers and move them on. And it's the lovely emails you get back from a lot of parents for the younger players. When COVID's been on, we've stood loyally by them, we've supported them, we've helped them, we've done our bit with them all, and made sure they were looked after as people. We've had emotional well-beings with people, so making sure the girls' emotions were looked after as well, and with the close down. So we've provided a package for those girls, and I think that'll stand by us in years to come. Not everybody's going to jump up and down and say a great fellow now, but I think in years to come, people will know who stood with them and who stood by them, and who's been, and so I think we've been there for them, and the girls, as always, have been there for us.
Definitely. Alfie, I think it's fair to say, you and the team around you, you were there when other people probably didn't want to be there, and when there weren't too many people to help out, and through all the hard work and support has grown over the years, now we're in the position we've been in. So we've had the sacrifices, we've had the setbacks, and now let's have the success. So good luck to the Green and White Army.
Yeah, unbelievable. Gentlemen, Michael, yeah, very much so.
Thank you for listening to the Michael Clark Show podcast. You can follow me at mclarkshow on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Check back every Wednesday for a brand new episode, which you can download as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. You can also watch the entire interview via my YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/The Michael Clark Show. And if you like our theme song, it has been kindly provided by the brilliant SX70. Search for SX-70 on Spotify to stream their music. Until next Wednesday, take care. I'll speak to you soon.